A girl grew up among garbage, ruins, and dreams held together with bottle caps. In an act of courage, she shouted to save a stranger about to fall off a cliff. What seemed like just a noble gesture revealed a truth that changed the fate of both. If you were touched by this beautiful story of resilience and love, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us which city you're watching from. Continuing, the sun rose reluctantly over the forgotten corner of East Oakland, California, casting long shadows across the makeshift shelter Lily Mason called home. At 12 years old, Lily had already mastered the art of survival in a world that seemed determined to overlook her existence. Her small hands, calloused beyond their years, meticulously arranged a collection of colorful bottle caps across a worn piece of cardboard, blue for rivers, red for dangerous territories, and gold for the places where dreams might come true. "Grandma Rose, look, I think I found a new route," Lily exclaimed, her hazel eyes lighting up with excitement as she traced a path through her makeshift map. The old woman looked up from her mending, her weathered face softening at the sight of her granddaughter's enthusiasm. "Where does this one lead to, sweetheart?" Rose asked, suppressing a cough that threatened to reveal just how much her health had deteriorated in recent months. "To him," Lily replied simply, her finger landing on a golden bottle cap positioned near the edge of her map. "To my father." Rose's smile faltered slightly. She had raised Lily since she was a baby, after her daughter Sarah had disappeared, following a brief relationship with a man whose name Rose had never even learned. All Lily knew about her father was that he existed somewhere in the world, a fact that both haunted and inspired her daily. "Time for work, little one," Rose said gently, nodding toward the small cooler filled with homemade candies that provided their meager income. "Those caramels won't sell themselves." Lily carefully stored her map in the metal box where she kept her treasures, bottle caps collected from streets and dumpsters, each one representing a piece of the puzzle she was determined to solve. She packed her candies, wrapped in colorful paper she'd salvaged from a craft store's dumpster, and kissed her grandmother's cheek. "I'll try the business district today," she declared, with the confidence of someone much older. "Those fancy people in suits have money to spend on treats." Rose wanted to protest. The business district was miles away, and Lily would have to navigate parts of the city that weren't kind to small girls selling homemade candy. But she knew their situation was growing desperate. The rent on their tiny apartment was 3 weeks overdue, and Rose's medication had run out 2 days ago. "Be careful, my brave girl," was all she said, pressing a small pocket knife into Lily's hand. "Just for cutting caramel," she added, though they both understood its true purpose. The journey to downtown Oakland took Lily nearly 2 hours on foot. She knew the bus routes by heart but saved her coins for emergencies. By midday, the late summer heat had transformed the city into a shimmering mirage of glass and concrete. Lily positioned herself near the entrance of the Thompson Tower, a gleaming skyscraper that seemed to touch the clouds. "Homemade caramels, only $1, she called out, her voice nearly drowned by the urban symphony of traffic, construction, and hurried conversations. Most people rushed past without a glance, their eyes fixed on smartphones or the invisible deadlines that propelled them forward. By 3 o'clock, Lily had sold only 4 candies. She sat on a bench, counting her earnings and wondering if she should try another location, when a commotion near the building's entrance caught her attention. A crowd had gathered, their voices raised in excitement as cameras flashed. "That's Alexander Thompson himself," someone nearby whispered. "The CEO is hardly ever seen in public these days." Curiosity drew Lily closer. Through gaps in the crowd, she glimpsed a tall man in an impeccable suit, his silver-streaked dark hair and commanding presence causing the crowd to part before him. Alexander Thompson, renowned tech entrepreneur and philanthropist, moved with the confidence of someone accustomed to being the most powerful person in any room. Something about his face, the set of his jaw perhaps, or the slight furrow between his brows, sent an unexpected jolt through Lily. She had seen that same expression in her own reflection countless times. Thompson strode toward a sleek black car waiting at the curb, flanked by security personnel and assistants clutching tablets. As the driver opened the door, Lily noticed something the others had missed. A section of the road ahead had collapsed slightly, creating a dangerous dip that the heavy car would struggle to navigate. Recent construction work had weakened the asphalt, and recent rains had washed away the supporting soil beneath. "Stop!" Lily shouted, darting forward before she could second-guess herself. "The road is broken!" "You'll crash!" Security moved to intercept her, but Thompson held up his hand, his eyes narrowing as he assessed the small, determined girl who had disrupted his carefully orchestrated exit. "What did you say?" he asked, his voice deep and measured. Lily pointed to the depression in the road. "The ground is washing away under there. Your car is too heavy. It might break through or get stuck." Thompson studied the area she indicated, then signaled to one of his security personnel, who cautiously approached the spot. The man's weight caused the asphalt to shift visibly, revealing a sinkhole forming beneath the road's surface. "Well, I'll be damned," Thompson muttered, turning his attention back to Lily. "You've got sharp eyes, young lady. That could have been a serious accident." His gaze lingered on her face, a strange expression flickering across his features before he composed himself. "What's your name?" "Lily Mason," she replied, suddenly conscious of her worn clothes and the cooler of candies hanging from her shoulder. "Mason," he repeated, as if testing the sound. "And what are you doing here, Lily Mason?" "Selling homemade caramels," she answered, lifting her cooler slightly. "My grandma and I make them. They're really good." Something in Thompson's expression softened. "Is that so? Well, I think you've earned a customer today." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a wallet. "How much for the whole cooler?" Lily's eyes widened. "The whole thing? That would be $50, sir." Without hesitation, Thompson extracted a crisp $100 bill and handed it to her. "Consider the rest a bonus for your excellent observation skills. You may have saved more than just a car today." As Lily stared at the bill, more money than she had ever held at once, Thompson's assistant leaned over and whispered something in his ear. The businessman frowned, then nodded. "Lily," he said, "would you mind coming inside for a moment? I'd like to properly thank you for your help and perhaps learn more about these famous caramels of yours." Hesitation flickered across Lily's face. Grandma Rose had warned her countless times about following strangers, no matter how rich or important they seemed. But something about Alexander Thompson felt different, familiar even, and the $100 in her hand meant medicine for Grandma Rose. "I should call my grandmother first," she said cautiously. Thompson smiled, a genuine smile that transformed his serious face into something almost boyish. "Of course. Family first, always. Jennifer will help you make that call." As Lily followed the assistant into the towering building, she couldn't shake the feeling that she had stumbled onto one of the routes from her bottle cap maps, a path that might lead her exactly where she had always dreamed of going. Behind them, city workers were already being summoned to address the dangerous sinkhole, a hazard that would have remained undiscovered if not for a poor girl's keen eyes and courage. Neither Lily nor Alexander Thompson realized that this chance encounter would forever alter the course of both their lives, connecting paths that had diverged long before Lily was born. Inside the gleaming lobby of Thompson Tower, beneath crystal chandeliers that cast rainbows across marble floors, Lily clutched her cooler of homemade candies and wondered if she had finally found the golden path on her map, the one that had always led to an empty space waiting to be filled. Alexander Thompson couldn't explain the strange pull he felt toward the young girl sitting across from him in his penthouse office. Lily Mason perched awkwardly on the edge of a leather chair that probably cost more than her entire home, her small fingers tracing the seams of the upholstery as her eyes darted around the room, taking in the floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a panoramic view of Oakland and the San Francisco Bay beyond. "These are really good," Alexander said, sampling one of Lily's caramels. The sweet, buttery flavor transported him unexpectedly to his own childhood, to his mother's kitchen in rural Pennsylvania, before ambition and success had reshaped his life. "Your grandmother taught you how to make these?" Lily nodded, her pride evident. "Grandma Rose knows all the best recipes. We sell them to help pay for her medicine." "She has," her voice trailed off, years of poverty having taught her the danger of revealing too much vulnerability. "Is she ill?" Alexander asked gently. "Her lungs don't work right anymore," Lily replied, her matter-of-fact tone betraying how normalized hardship had become in her young life. "The doctors gave her special medicine, but it costs a lot." Alexander nodded, making a mental note. He'd already dispatched his assistant Jennifer to drive Lily home after their conversation, with instructions to assess the living conditions and report back. He told himself this unusual interest was simply gratitude for her preventing a potential accident, perhaps mixed with his well-known philanthropic tendencies. But something deeper nagged at him, something in the girl's hazel eyes, the determined set of her jaw, the particular way she tilted her head when considering a question. "Tell me about yourself, Lily. Do you go to school nearby?" Oakland Elementary. I'm in 6th grade, but I miss a lot because sometimes I need to help Grandma Rose. She hesitated, then added with surprising earnestness, but I read a lot. The library lets me take home 3 books at a time. And your parents? Alexander asked carefully, watching her reaction. Lily's expression shifted, a mixture of sadness and determination crossing her features. My mom left when I was a baby. Grandma says she was scared and confused. I don't remember her. She paused, her fingers unconsciously touching the worn pocket of her jacket where Alexander had noticed the outline of what looked like a small metal box. My dad, I don't know who he is, but I'm going to find him someday. Something cold and unsettling settled in Alexander's stomach. What was your mother's name? Sarah Mason. The name hit Alexander like a physical blow. Sarah Mason. It had been nearly 13 years since he'd heard that name, since the aspiring artist with wildfire in her eyes had walked out of his life after a whirlwind 3-month relationship that had coincided with the most turbulent period of his career. Alexander forced his expression to remain neutral as his mind raced through calculations. The timing would align perfectly. Sarah had disappeared from his life without explanation, rejecting his attempts to contact her. He'd been hurt, then angry, then too consumed with building his empire to dwell on what he'd dismissed as a failed romance. Had she been pregnant? Had she chosen to raise their child in poverty rather than tell him? Mr. Thompson, Lily's voice broke through his thoughts. Are you okay? Alexander cleared his throat. Yes, I'm fine. Just remembered something important. He studied her face more intently now, seeing hints of Sarah in her cheekbones, the shape of her eyes, but the rest, the expressions, the mannerisms, those were undeniably reflections of the face he saw in the mirror each morning. Lily, would you mind if I asked you and your grandmother a favor? I'd like to help you both, as thanks for your assistance today. Lily's expression grew cautious. What kind of favor? Nothing troubling, he assured her. I run a foundation that helps children in difficult circumstances. We provide medical care, educational support, better housing. I think you and your grandmother might qualify for our program. It wasn't entirely a lie. Thompson Foundation did indeed provide such services, though Alexander had never personally selected recipients before. His mind was already formulating plans: medical care for the grandmother, educational assessments for Lily, a DNA test that could be conducted discreetly. We don't take charity, Lily said, her chin lifting slightly in a gesture of pride that struck Alexander as so familiar it was almost painful. It's not charity, he countered gently. It's an exchange. You helped me today, possibly saved me from injury. Now I'd like to help you in return. Plus, he added with a small smile, I'd like to place a standing order for these excellent caramels. My business associates would love them. Before Lily could respond, Jennifer returned to the office. The car is ready, Mr. Thompson. I can take Lily home now. Alexander nodded, rising from his chair. Thank you for coming by, Lily. Jennifer will make sure you get home safely. And if it's all right with you, I'd like to visit you and your grandmother tomorrow to discuss how we might help each other. Lily hesitated, then nodded. Grandma Rose would like to thank you for buying all our caramels. She always says we should show gratitude. Your grandmother sounds like a wise woman, Alexander replied, feeling a strange mixture of anticipation and dread at the prospect of meeting the woman who had raised what might be his daughter. After Lily left with Jennifer, Alexander sat alone in his office, staring out at the city below as twilight descended. His mind replayed memories of Sarah, her passionate nature, her artistic vision, the fierce independence that had both attracted and frustrated him. Had she kept this monumental secret from him all these years? And if Lily was indeed his daughter, what responsibility did he bear for the years of hardship she had endured? Alexander's phone buzzed with a message from Jennifer. Address secured. Apartment in severe disrepair. Grandmother appears quite ill. Child's story checks out based on visible evidence. He texted back a simple instruction. Arrange for my personal physician to accompany us tomorrow. Priority 1. In a small apartment across the city, Lily excitedly recounted her adventure to Grandma Rose, showing her the $100 bill and explaining about the important businessman who wanted to help them. He looks like me, Grandma, Lily said, her voice dropping to a whisper. Around the eyes, and when he smiles. Do you think he could be? Rose Mason stared at her granddaughter, her heart constricting painfully. After years of protecting Lily, of honoring her daughter's wish to keep the father's identity secret, had fate intervened so dramatically? The name Thompson had meant nothing to her. Sarah had never revealed the name of Lily's father, only that he was successful and ambitious, too focused on his career to be bothered with a pregnant girlfriend. "I don't know, sweetheart," Rose said carefully. "But we'll find out together, won't we?" That night, Lily added a new gold bottle cap to her map, placing it directly in the center of Oakland, right where Thompson Tower stretched toward the sky. For the first time, the path she had been creating for years seemed to be leading somewhere real, somewhere both exciting and terrifying in its possibilities. Miles away in his penthouse apartment, Alexander Thompson made a series of phone calls to his lawyer, his doctor, and finally to his director of security. If Lily Mason was indeed his daughter, he needed to be absolutely certain. And if she was, he was prepared to move heaven and earth to make up for the years he had lost, whatever the cost to his carefully controlled life. Neither of them could know that across town, in a modest hotel room, a woman with familiar hazel eyes stared at a newspaper photo of Alexander Thompson exiting his corporate headquarters. Sarah Mason had returned to Oakland after 12 years away. Driven by Rose's increasingly worried phone calls about her worsening health, she had come back to finally face her past, only to find that the past might have already found its way to her daughter's door. The arrival of Alexander Thompson's sleek black Bentley in the rundown neighborhood caused a stir among the residents. Children pressed their faces against windows, and adults paused their daily routines to watch as the billionaire entrepreneur, accompanied by a distinguished older man carrying a medical bag, made his way toward the dilapidated apartment building where Lily and Rose Mason lived. Lily had spent the morning cleaning their small apartment, arranging her bottle cap maps in neat rows beneath her bed, and helping Grandma Rose into her best dress, a faded blue garment that had once been quite elegant. Despite Rose's objections, Lily had used some of the $100 to buy fresh flowers, placing them in a chipped vase on their wobbly kitchen table. "He's here," Lily called out, spotting the expensive car from their second-floor window. Her heart raced with a mixture of excitement and anxiety. All night she had dreamed of possibilities, of a father found, of a mystery solved, of the empty spaces in her life finally filled. Rose Mason eased herself into a chair, fighting back a cough. She had spent a restless night weighing her obligations, to her missing daughter Sarah, to the truth, to Lily's well-being. The prospect of meeting Alexander Thompson filled her with apprehension. If he was indeed Lily's father, what right did he have to enter their lives now, after all these years of absence? A firm knock at the door sent Lily rushing to answer it, smoothing her second-hand dress nervously before turning the handle. Alexander Thompson stood in the doorway, looking simultaneously powerful and uncomfortable in surroundings so far removed from his usual environment. His eyes immediately found Lily, his expression softening. "Good morning, Lily," he said warmly, before his gaze moved past her to Rose. Something in his face changed, a flicker of recognition, though they had never met. "Mrs. Mason, I presume. Thank you for allowing me to visit your home." Rose nodded stiffly. "It's Miss Mason, and I understand we have you to thank for your generosity yesterday. Please come in." As Alexander entered the small apartment, the stark contrast between his world and theirs became painfully evident. His tailored suit probably cost more than their entire yearly income. Yet, to Lily's surprise, he showed no discomfort or condescension, instead accepting Rose's offer of their one good chair with genuine graciousness. "This is Dr. Wilson," Alexander introduced the older man who had accompanied him. "He's my personal physician. I mentioned to him that you've been experiencing some health difficulties, Miss Mason, and he kindly offered to provide a consultation if you're amenable." Rose's expression hardened. "We can't afford—" "This isn't about money," Alexander interrupted gently. "Consider it part of my thanks to Lily for her alertness yesterday. Dr. Wilson is simply here to offer his professional opinion and perhaps suggestions for treatment options." While Dr. Wilson spoke quietly with Rose, moving to the small bedroom for privacy, Alexander turned his attention to Lily. From his pocket he produced a small velvet pouch. "I brought you something," he said, handing it to her, "a token of appreciation." Lily opened the pouch carefully, gasping when she discovered a collection of pristine bottle caps inside, blues, reds, and golds in various designs, some from foreign countries, others from limited edition beverages she had never seen before. "Jennifer mentioned you collect these," Alexander explained, watching her reaction closely. "For making maps," she said. Lily's eyes widened in surprise and delight. These are amazing. Some of them I've never even seen before. She hesitated, then asked, "Would you like to see my maps?" Alexander nodded, and Lily retrieved her metal box from beneath her bed, carefully spreading several cardboard maps across the floor. As she explained her system, blue caps for safe paths, red for dangerous areas, gold for important destinations, Alexander listened with genuine interest. "This one," Lily said, pointing to her newest creation, "shows the path to Thompson Tower. See, I put a special gold cap right here where your building is." Alexander studied the intricate patterns, recognizing the crude but accurate representation of Oakland's streets. "These are remarkable, Lily. You have a real talent for spatial visualization." He paused, then asked carefully, "I notice many of your maps seem to be searching for something. Or someone?" Lily's expression grew serious. "My father. I don't know who he is, but I know he's out there somewhere. Grandma says my mom never told her his name, but I think he must be looking for me too, don't you think? Otherwise, why would I feel so sure about finding him?" The raw hope in her voice struck Alexander like a physical blow. Before he could respond, Rose emerged from the bedroom with Dr. Wilson, her face pale but composed. "Mr. Thompson, might I have a word with you privately?" Dr. Wilson requested. As the two men stepped into the hallway outside the apartment, Dr. Wilson didn't mince words. "Miss Mason has advanced COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. She needs proper medication, oxygen therapy, and frankly, better living conditions. This environment is exacerbating her condition considerably." Alexander nodded grimly. "Arrange everything she needs. Immediately." When they returned to the apartment, Alexander found Lily showing Rose the collection of bottle caps he had brought. The older woman's expression had softened somewhat, though wariness remained in her eyes when she looked at him. "Miss Mason," Alexander began, "I'd like to make you a proposal. My foundation operates several fully furnished apartments for families in transition. I'd like to offer one to you and Lily, rent-free, while you undergo the treatment Dr. Wilson recommends." Rose's pride visibly warred with her practical concerns. "Why would you do this for strangers? Because Lily warned you about a pothole?" Alexander met her gaze steadily. "Perhaps I see something special in your granddaughter, a resilience and intelligence that deserves nurturing. Or perhaps," he added more quietly, "I have my own reasons for wanting to help." A tense silence filled the small room before Rose finally spoke. "There's something you should know, Mr. Thompson. Something about Lily." Lily looked up in confusion. "Grandma?" Rose took a labored breath. "Lily, sweetheart, would you mind getting me a glass of water?" When Lily reluctantly left for the kitchen, Rose leaned forward, her voice barely above a whisper. "You think she's yours, don't you? You and Sarah?" The direct question caught Alexander off guard, but he recovered quickly. "The possibility has occurred to me. The timing would be right, and there are resemblances." Rose's eyes flashed with unexpected fire. "My daughter left you for a reason, Mr. Thompson. She chose to raise Lily without your knowledge or involvement." "Without giving me a choice in the matter," Alexander countered, keeping his voice low. "If Lily is my daughter, I had a right to know." "And now?" Rose challenged. "What do you want now?" Before Alexander could answer, Lily returned with the water. The tension in the room was palpable, and she looked between her grandmother and the visitor with growing concern. "Is everything okay?" she asked. Alexander composed himself. "Everything's fine, Lily. Your grandmother and I were just discussing the details of my offer." He turned back to Rose. "I understand your reservations, Miss Mason, but please consider what's best for Lily. And for your health. The apartment is available whenever you're ready. No strings attached." Rose studied him intently, as if searching for deception. Finally, she sighed. "We'll consider it. Thank you." As Alexander prepared to leave, Lily suddenly asked, "Will you come visit us again, Mr. Thompson?" Something in her hopeful expression made Alexander's carefully constructed emotional walls waver. "Yes, Lily. I'd like that very much." Outside the building, Alexander instructed his driver to wait while he made a phone call. "Jennifer, I need you to arrange for a DNA test, discreetly, and contact our legal team. I want to understand my options if the results confirm what I suspect." As the Bentley pulled away from the curb, neither Alexander nor Lily noticed the slender woman watching from the corner, Sarah Mason, who had arrived moments too late to intercept the visitor. She had recognized the expensive car immediately and felt her carefully reconstructed world beginning to crumble. Sarah's hand trembled as she reached for her phone, dialing her mother's number. When Rose answered, Sarah's voice was barely steady. "Mum, it's me. I saw him leaving. What did Alexander Thompson want with you and Lily?" Miles away in his downtown office, Alexander stared at the photo on his desk, a younger version of himself accepting an entrepreneurship award 12 years ago. The timeline aligned perfectly with Lily's age. Somewhere in that same year, Sarah Mason had disappeared from his life without explanation. Now the pieces were falling into place with devastating clarity. If Lily was his daughter, nothing in his carefully ordered existence would ever be the same again, and Alexander Thompson was a man accustomed to controlling every aspect of his life, down to the smallest detail. The Lakeside Apartments complex represented everything the Masons' former neighborhood lacked: security, cleanliness, and the quiet dignity that comes with well-maintained surroundings. 2 weeks after Alexander Thompson's visit, Lily stood on the balcony of their new 2-bedroom apartment, watching the sunset reflect off the small lake that gave the complex its name. "Grandma, come look," she called excitedly. "The ducks are back." Rose joined her granddaughter more slowly, an oxygen tube now a constant companion. The move had been sudden but necessary. Dr. Wilson had arranged for Rose to see a pulmonary specialist who had immediately recommended a cleaner living environment, along with aggressive treatment. To Lily's delight and Rose's cautious gratitude, Alexander had handled everything, from the moving truck to ensuring Rose's new medical team had complete access to whatever treatments might help. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Lily said, leaning against her grandmother's side. Rose nodded, her expression thoughtful. Despite her initial resistance, she couldn't deny the improvement in both their lives. Lily had resumed regular attendance at her new school, thriving in classes where teachers had time to recognize her intelligence. Rose's breathing had stabilized with proper medication and clean air, yet uncertainty shadowed these blessings. "Mr. Thompson is coming for dinner tonight," Lily reminded her, eyes bright with anticipation. Over the past 2 weeks, Alexander had visited several times, each visit cementing the strange connection between the successful businessman and the child who might be his daughter. "I remember, sweetheart," Rose replied. "Why don't you finish setting the table while I rest for a few minutes?" Alone in her bedroom, Rose stared at her phone, reading the text message from Sarah for the dozenth time. "Don't tell him anything until I get there. 3 more days. Please, Mum." Sarah's return to Oakland had been complicated by legal issues related to her job in Seattle. Rose had respected her daughter's request to keep her return a secret from both Lily and Alexander, but the weight of unspoken truths was becoming unbearable, especially since Rose suspected that Alexander already knew, or at least strongly believed, that he was Lily's father. The dinner that evening began pleasantly enough. Alexander arrived with gifts: books for Lily, a cashmere shawl for Rose, and a gourmet meal from one of Oakland's finest restaurants. As they ate, Alexander asked Lily about her new school and listened with genuine interest to her enthusiastic responses. "My science teacher says I have a natural aptitude," Lily reported proudly. "She's letting me work on a special project about urban ecosystems." "That's wonderful," Alexander replied, his expression softening in a way that happened only around Lily. "If you need any resources for your project, just let me know." Rose observed their interaction silently, noting the similarities that grew more apparent with each meeting. The same analytical approach to problems, the same quick smile that appeared and disappeared like lightning, even the same habit of tapping fingers when deep in thought. After dinner, while Lily was showing Alexander her newest bottle cap map, this one detailing the apartment complex and surrounding neighborhood, Rose's phone buzzed with a text. She checked it discreetly. "I'm coming tomorrow. Couldn't wait. S." Rose's sharp intake of breath caught Alexander's attention. "Are you feeling all right, Miss Mason?" "Just tired," she replied, tucking the phone away. "It's been a full day." Alexander nodded understandingly. "I should be going anyway. I have an early meeting tomorrow." He turned to Lily. "I'm impressed with your mapping skills. Have you ever thought about architecture or urban planning as a career?" Lily beamed at the suggestion. "I never knew those were real jobs I could have." As Alexander prepared to leave, Rose made a decision. "Mr. Thompson, I wonder if I might have a word with you in private before you go." Lily reluctantly retreated to her bedroom after Alexander promised to bring a book on famous female architects during his next visit. Once they were alone, Rose gestured for Alexander to sit. I received a message from my daughter, she said without preamble. Sarah is returning to Oakland tomorrow. Alexander's composed expression faltered momentarily. I see. Does Lily know? Not yet. Sarah wanted to speak with me first. Rose studied him carefully. And with you, I imagine. A tense silence settled between them before Alexander spoke. I think we both know what the DNA test will show, Miss Mason. I received preliminary results this morning. Rose's eyes widened. You conducted a DNA test, without my knowledge or consent. A simple cheek swab from a water glass, Alexander admitted without apology. I needed to know the truth. And now that you have your truth, what do you intend to do with it? Rose challenged, her voice low but intense. Sarah kept Lily from you for reasons that were important to her. You can't simply walk into their lives and claim rights you never exercised. Alexander's jaw tightened. Rights I was never allowed to exercise, he corrected. I'm not here to disrupt Lily's life, but I won't be pushed aside now that I know she's my daughter. Does she know? Rose asked, glancing toward Lily's bedroom. I haven't told her, Alexander replied. I thought that conversation should include her mother. Rose nodded, relieved by his restraint if nothing else. Tomorrow then. Sarah will be here, and we can discuss how to proceed. After Alexander left, Rose sat alone in the living room, oxygen flowing through her tube as she contemplated the collision course their lives were on. Lily's world was about to change fundamentally, and Rose wasn't certain any of them were truly prepared for the fallout. The following afternoon, while Lily was at school, Sarah Mason arrived at the apartment. At 35, she remained strikingly beautiful, despite the lines of worry etched around her eyes. Her resemblance to Lily was unmistakable, though Sarah carried herself with a wariness her daughter had not yet developed. Mom, she said, embracing Rose carefully, mindful of the oxygen tube, you look better than I expected. The new medications are helping, Rose replied, studying her daughter's face. You look tired, Sarah. Sarah smiled weakly. 3 jobs will do that to you. She glanced around the apartment. This is not what I expected. Alexander Thompson's doing, Rose confirmed. He's been very generous. Sarah's expression hardened. I'm sure he has been. How much does he know? Everything, I think. He arranged for a DNA test without telling us. Sarah sank onto the couch, her composure slipping. I should have known he'd do something like that. Always in control, always manipulating situations to his advantage. He seems genuinely concerned for Lily, Rose offered cautiously. Sarah laughed without humor. Alex is concerned about his legacy, his empire, his image. He doesn't know the first thing about being a father. And whose fault is that? Rose asked gently. Before Sarah could respond, a knock at the door startled them both. Rose checked her watch. Still 2 hours before Lily was due home from school. Sarah tensed. Is that him? Rose nodded grimly. He said he'd come by to discuss how to tell Lily. When Rose opened the door, Alexander stood there in a perfectly tailored suit, his confident demeanor faltering only slightly when he saw Sarah behind her. Hello, Alex, Sarah said, her voice steady despite her obvious tension. It's been a long time. 12 years, 4 months, Alexander replied, stepping into the apartment. Approximately the age of the daughter you never told me about. The air between them crackled with unspoken accusations and long-buried emotions. Rose quietly excused herself to her bedroom, recognizing that Sarah and Alexander needed this confrontation before they could begin to construct any kind of path forward for Lily's sake. Left alone, the former lovers regarded each other with a volatile mixture of anger, hurt, and lingering connection. Why? Alexander finally asked, the single word containing 12 years of questions. Sarah crossed her arms. You know why. Your company was your life, your only priority. When I found out I was pregnant, you were in the middle of your biggest acquisition. You'd made it perfectly clear that nothing could interfere with your plans. You never gave me the chance to prove otherwise, Alexander countered. You disappeared completely. I tried to find you. For how long? Sarah challenged. A week? A month? Before you went back to building your precious empire? Alexander's expression darkened. That's unfair. You made a unilateral decision that affected 3 lives profoundly. You denied me my daughter, and you denied Lily her father. I protected her, Sarah insisted. From becoming an afterthought in your busy schedule, from being raised by nannies while you conquered the business world. As their confrontation intensified, neither noticed the apartment door opening quietly, nor the small figure who stood frozen in the entryway, school bag sliding from suddenly limp fingers. Mum! Lily's voice, small and confused, cut through their argument like a knife. "You're my mom?" Sarah turned, her face draining of color. "Lily? You're home early?" Lily's eyes darted between Sarah and Alexander, her quick mind connecting dots with devastating speed. "And you're my father?" she asked Alexander, her voice barely audible. The silence that followed confirmed what Lily had already realized. Her bottle cap maps, her years of searching, had led her not to some distant place but to the two people standing before her, strangers to each other now, yet together responsible for her existence. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" Lily demanded, tears welling in her eyes. "Why did you leave me? Why did everyone lie?" Before either parent could respond, Lily turned and fled, slamming her bedroom door behind her. The sound echoed through the apartment like a gunshot, marking the violent collision of past and present, of secrets revealed, and a child's world forever altered. 3 days of painful silences and tearful conversations followed Lily's discovery. The carefully constructed world she had imagined, finding her father, creating a perfect family, collided harshly with the complicated reality of adult relationships and long-buried resentments. Lily retreated into herself, speaking little and spending hours arranging and rearranging her bottle cap maps in patterns that no longer made sense even to her. "She won't talk to me," Sarah confessed to Rose, her voice hollow with defeat. She had taken a leave of absence from her jobs in Seattle to stay in Oakland indefinitely, sleeping on the couch in the apartment Alexander had provided. The irony wasn't lost on her, living in comfort purchased by the man she had run from 12 years ago. Rose adjusted her oxygen tube, her breathing labored despite the treatment. "She's processing, Sarah. Her entire world has shifted. Give her time." "Time is exactly what I don't have," Sarah replied, glancing at her watch. Alexander's lawyer called again. "He wants to discuss custody arrangements." Rose's expression hardened. "He has no legal claim yet. He's Alexander Thompson," Sarah said bitterly. "He has resources I can't begin to match, and DNA results that prove he's her father." Before Rose could respond, Lily emerged from her bedroom, her face set in the determined expression that made her look so much like Alexander. "I want to go to Dad's house," she announced, the word Dad still awkward on her tongue. Sarah flinched visibly. "Lily, we need to talk more before—" "I've been talking for 3 days," Lily interrupted. "I want to see where he lives. I want to know that part of me, too." Rose and Sarah exchanged worried glances. Alexander had respectfully kept his distance after the revelation, communicating primarily through his assistant Jennifer, while Lily adjusted to Sarah's presence. His restraint had surprised Sarah, who remembered a man who typically took control of any situation. "If that's what you want," Sarah finally conceded, "I'll call him." Alexander's response was immediate. Within the hour, his driver arrived to collect Lily, who insisted on going alone despite Sarah's objections. As the sleek car pulled away, Sarah stood at the window, an unfamiliar sense of powerlessness washing over her. "Was I wrong, Mum?" she whispered. "All these years, was I wrong to keep them apart?" Rose placed a comforting hand on her daughter's shoulder. "You did what you thought was best with the information you had. That's all any of us can do." Thompson Manor sprawled across 3 acres in the Oakland Hills, a modernist masterpiece of glass, steel, and warm wood that somehow managed to feel both imposing and inviting. Lily pressed her face against the car window as they approached through wrought-iron gates, her eyes wide at the sight of perfectly manicured gardens and a circular driveway centered around a dramatic fountain. "Whoa!" she breathed, momentarily forgetting her anger and confusion in the face of such grandeur. Alexander waited at the front entrance, having dismissed the usual household staff for the afternoon to give Lily privacy. He had spent hours preparing for this visit, agonizing over how to make his home welcoming to a child who had grown up in such different circumstances. "Welcome, Lily," he said, his customary confidence tempered by an unfamiliar nervousness. "Would you like a tour?" Lily nodded, suddenly shy in these overwhelming surroundings. Alexander led her through rooms that seemed to expand forever. A great room with ceilings so high they made Lily dizzy, a kitchen larger than their entire former apartment, a library with books on shelves that required rolling ladders to reach. "This is where I work when I'm home," Alexander explained, showing her a home office with wall-to-wall monitors and a desk that looked like it belonged on a spaceship. Lily ran her fingers along the sleek surface. "It's so big. Everything is so big." Alexander studied her expression. Too big? Different, Lily clarified. Everything about you is different from what I imagined. Alexander gestured to a seating area by a window overlooking the bay. What did you imagine your father would be like? Lily sat, tucking her feet beneath her in a gesture that reminded Alexander powerfully of Sarah. Someone normal, I guess. Someone who would teach me to ride a bike or help with homework. She glanced around the opulent room. Not someone with all this. I can still teach you to ride a bike, Alexander offered quietly, and help with homework. Lily's expression remained skeptical. Mom says you're too busy, that your company is your whole life. Alexander winced at the assessment. Your mother knew me a long time ago. People change, Lily. Do they? She challenged with a directness that caught him off guard. Have you? The question hung between them, honest and devastating in its simplicity. Before Alexander could formulate a response, his phone buzzed with an urgent message. He checked it reflexively, then frowned. I'm sorry, I need to handle this quickly, he said, turning toward his computer. Lily's face fell, the moment confirming her mother's assessment. It's okay. I can look around by myself. 5 minutes, Alexander promised. This is an emergency with our servers in Singapore. As Alexander made a video call, speaking rapidly with his technical team about encryption protocols and security breaches, Lily wandered to a wall of framed photographs she hadn't noticed before. Most showed Alexander at various business functions or receiving awards, but one photo caught her attention. A much younger Alexander with his arm around a laughing young woman with familiar hazel eyes. That's your mother, Alexander said, appearing beside her after concluding his call. At the opening of an art exhibition where her work was featured. She was an incredibly talented painter. Lily studied the photo intently. She looks happy. We both were, Alexander admitted. For a while. What happened? Lily asked, turning to face him directly. Alexander sighed, choosing his words carefully. My company was in a critical growth phase. I was working 18-hour days, traveling constantly. Your mother wanted someone who could be more present, who valued things beyond business success. And you didn't? I thought I could have both, Alexander replied honestly. I was wrong. By the time I realized what I was losing, Sarah was gone. Lily absorbed this, her expression thoughtful beyond her years. If you had known about me, would you have changed? The question struck Alexander with its profound implication. I'd like to think so, he answered finally. But I can't rewrite the past, Lily. I can only try to be better now. Their conversation was interrupted by Alexander's assistant Jennifer, who appeared in the doorway with an uncomfortable expression. I'm sorry to disturb you, Mr. Thompson, but Mr. Reeves is here. He's quite insistent about seeing you immediately. Alexander's expression darkened. Tell Victor I'm unavailable. Family matters take precedence today. He says it concerns your family, Jennifer replied carefully, with a meaningful glance toward Lily. Specifically recent developments. Before Alexander could respond, a tall man with silver hair and a sharply tailored suit brushed past Jennifer into the room. Victor Reeves, Alexander's former business partner and current rival, surveyed the scene with calculating eyes that quickly found Lily. So it's true, Victor said, his smooth voice carrying an undercurrent of satisfaction. The great Alexander Thompson has discovered his long-lost daughter. How touching. Alexander moved protectively toward Lily. This is a private family matter, Victor. I'll ask you once to leave. Victor ignored him, addressing Lily directly. Hello, young lady. I'm Victor Reeves, your father's oldest friend. Or I was before he decided business was more important than loyalty. That's enough, Alexander said sharply. Jennifer, please escort Mr. Reeves out and call security if necessary. Victor raised his hands in mock surrender. No need for that. I just wanted to see for myself. His eyes narrowed as he looked between Lily and Alexander. Remarkable resemblance. I wonder if she has your ruthlessness as well as your chin. After Jennifer had firmly guided Victor from the house, Alexander turned to Lily with an apologetic expression. I'm sorry about that. Victor and I have a complicated history. He doesn't like you, Lily observed. No, Alexander agreed. He doesn't. Because of business. Alexander hesitated, then decided Lily deserved honesty. Partly. We founded the company together but had different visions for its future. When we couldn't reconcile those differences, I bought him out. He felt the price wasn't fair, though legally it was. And the other part? Lily pressed, sensing there was more. Victor was married to my sister, Alexander admitted. Their divorce was difficult. He believes I took her side unfairly. Lily processed this new information, adding it to the complex picture of her newfound father. You have a sister? I have an aunt. Alexander nodded. Catherine lives in Europe now. I should call her. She doesn't know about you yet. The remainder of Lily's visit passed more comfortably, with Alexander showing her a room he had prepared for her, for visits whenever you'd like, and sharing a casual dinner on the terrace overlooking the bay. By the time Alexander's driver took her home, Lily felt both more connected to her father and more confused about her feelings. At the apartment, Sarah waited anxiously, relief flooding her face when Lily walked through the door. How was it? She asked carefully. Big, Lily replied, really big. And someone named Victor Reeves came by. He seemed angry at Dad. Sarah's expression shifted. Victor? What did he want? To see me, I think, Lily said with a shrug. Dad made him leave. Later, after Lily had gone to bed, Sarah called Alexander. Victor Reeves knows about Lily, she demanded without preamble. Unfortunately, Alexander confirmed, he showed up unannounced. This is exactly what I was afraid of, Sarah said, her voice tight with anxiety. Your world, your enemies, your complications, all of it spilling over onto Lily. Victor is hardly a threat, Alexander assured her. More of an annoyance. You always underestimated him, Sarah replied. That was your blind spot. After they hung up, Sarah sat in the darkened living room, a sense of foreboding settling over her. She had left Oakland 12 years ago to protect her unborn child from Alexander's world of power struggles and ruthless competition. Now, despite her efforts, that world was reaching out to envelop Lily anyway. Across town, Victor Reeves sat in his expansive office, smiling as he reviewed the photographs his private investigator had taken. Lily entering Thompson Manor, Alexander greeting her at the door. The tabloid headline practically wrote itself, Tech Billionaire's Secret Love Child Revealed. After all these years, Victor murmured, you've finally given me the perfect leverage, Alex. And it only cost me 12 years of patience. Tech Billionaire's Secret Daughter, Gold Digger Scheme or Family Reunion. The headlines screamed from newsstands across Oakland, accompanied by photos of Lily entering Thompson Manor and a particularly unflattering image of Sarah leaving the lakeside apartments. The story beneath was a masterpiece of innuendo, suggesting that Sarah Mason had orchestrated an elaborate plot to extract wealth from Alexander Thompson by suddenly appearing with a convenient daughter. Alexander's phone had been ringing non-stop since the story broke at dawn. By 8 a.m., his PR team had assembled in his home office, strategizing damage control, while his legal department prepared cease and desist letters to the publications that had run the most egregious versions of the story. This has Victor written all over it, Alexander fumed, pacing the length of his office. He's the only one who knew and had motivation to leak it. We need to issue a statement, his communications director urged. The speculation is getting wild. Some outlets are suggesting you've been hiding Lily for years, others that you're being manipulated or blackmailed. Alexander glanced at his phone, 3 missed calls from Sarah in the past hour. Not yet. I need to speak with Sarah and Lily first. This affects them more directly than me. At Lakeside Apartments, the situation was even more chaotic. Reporters had gathered outside the complex, forcing management to hire additional security. Sarah had disconnected their landline after the 5th call from a tabloid journalist and now sat with Rose and Lily in the living room, all 3 shell-shocked by the sudden invasion of their privacy. I can't believe they published my picture, Lily whispered, staring at the newspaper on the coffee table. They called Mom a gold digger. What does that even mean? It means they're trying to hurt us, Sarah replied grimly. They're suggesting I'm only reconnecting with your father for his money. Rose's condition had deteriorated under the stress, her breathing more labored despite the oxygen. This is exactly what I feared, she said weakly. Alexander's world swallowing all of us whole. The doorbell rang, causing all 3 to tense. Sarah approached cautiously, checking the peephole before unlocking the door. Alexander entered quickly, his normally perfect appearance showing signs of strain, tie slightly askew, dark circles under his eyes suggesting a sleepless night. I'm so sorry, he said immediately. I've got teams working to contain this, but Victor moved faster than I anticipated. Contain it, Sarah repeated incredulously. Our faces are on newsstands across the city. Lily can't even go to school without being harassed. I know, Alexander acknowledged, his voice tight with barely controlled anger. Victor will pay for this. I promise you. That doesn't help us now, Sarah shot back. This is exactly why I left 12 years ago. Because your world destroys everything it touches. Lily listened to their argument with growing distress, her hands unconsciously arranging and rearranging bottle caps she'd pulled from her pocket. The familiar ritual usually calmed her, but today the caps seemed to mock her attempts to create order from chaos. "Stop it!" she finally shouted, startling both parents into silence. "Stop fighting! This isn't helping anything." Alexander and Sarah turned to her, both looking chastened. Alexander knelt beside her chair, speaking gently. "You're right, Lily. I'm sorry. We should be focusing on how to protect you, not rehashing old grievances. I have school projects due," Lily said, her voice small but determined. "I can't miss any more days, and Grandma needs calm for her health." Rose smiled weakly at her granddaughter's practical concerns. "Always my sensible girl." A knock at the door interrupted them. Sarah tensed again, but Alexander moved to answer it, his body language suggesting he was prepared to physically remove any reporter who had managed to get past building security. Instead, he found Jennifer, his assistant, looking grave. "I'm sorry to disturb you, Mr. Thompson, but there's a situation that requires your immediate attention." She lowered her voice. "Victor has called a press conference for noon. Our sources say he's planning to make additional allegations." Alexander's expression darkened. "What kind of allegations?" "That the DNA test was falsified," Jennifer replied. "That this is all an elaborate distraction from financial troubles at Thompson Technologies. And," she hesitated, glancing toward Lily, "that you've been hiding other children as well." "That's absurd," Alexander growled. "Pure fabrication." Sarah had approached quietly, overhearing the conversation. "He's trying to destroy your reputation and using Lily as ammunition." Alexander turned to her, unexpected vulnerability in his eyes. "Not just my reputation. He's attacking our family. All of us." The word family hung in the air between them, a concept that had been fractured for 12 years, now precariously reassembling under the worst possible circumstances. "What are you going to do?" Sarah asked. Alexander straightened his tie, decision crystallizing in his expression. "I'm going to confront him publicly, before he can spread more lies." "That's playing into his hands," Sarah warned. "You know Victor thrives on public confrontation." "Maybe," Alexander conceded, "but staying silent while he attacks my daughter isn't an option." A soft voice interrupted their exchange. "Our daughter." They turned to find Lily standing behind them, her expression resolute despite the fear evident in her eyes. "I want to go too." "Absolutely not," Sarah and Alexander said in unison. "It's about me," Lily insisted. "I should be there." Alexander knelt to meet her eyes. "Lily, these press conferences can be brutal. Reporters shouting questions, cameras everywhere. It's not a place for a kid," Lily finished for him. "I'm not just any kid. I'm a Mason and a Thompson. Grandma Rose always says Masons face their problems head-on." Sarah and Alexander exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them that surprised them both with its ease and familiarity. "She won't be on camera," Alexander said to Sarah. "She can watch from backstage with Jennifer to protect her, so she can see that we're addressing this, not hiding from it." After a tense discussion, Sarah reluctantly agreed, on the condition that she would accompany Lily. Rose, too weak to join them, would stay behind with a nurse Alexander arranged to have sent to the apartment. As they prepared to leave, Lily disappeared briefly into her bedroom, returning with a small metal box. "I need to bring this," she said firmly. "Your bottle caps?" Sarah asked, puzzled. Lily nodded. "They help me think, and I might need to make a new map after today." 2 hours later, Alexander stood before a forest of microphones in the conference room of Thompson Tower, Sarah and Lily watching from just off stage. The room was packed with journalists, many of whom had been covering Victor's press conference, until Alexander announced his own impromptu statement. "I've called you here to address the rumors and accusations circulating in certain publications," Alexander began, his voice steady and authoritative. "Yes, I recently discovered that I have a 12-year-old daughter. Her name is Lily, and she is the most remarkable young person I have ever met." Camera shutters clicked rapidly as Alexander continued. "I was unaware of Lily's existence until very recently, a fact that I deeply regret. Her mother and I parted ways before either of us knew of the pregnancy. This was not anyone's fault, simply a sad series of circumstances and missed connections. From her position backstage, Sarah watched Alexander with mixed emotions. This public Alexander, commanding, articulate, completely in control, was the man she had both admired and resented years ago. "The accusations made by Victor Reeves are categorically false," Alexander continued. "There was no scheme, no manipulation, no financial motivation behind our reconnection. There is, however, a DNA test confirming my paternity, conducted by 2 independent laboratories." A reporter called out, "Why should we believe you over Mr. Reeves? He claims to have evidence of falsified tests." Alexander's expression hardened. "His evidence is as fictional as his allegations." Another voice shouted, "Is it true you're sending the girl to a private boarding school to keep her out of the spotlight?" "Her name is Lily," Alexander corrected sharply, "and her educational future will be decided by her mother and me together, with Lily's best interests and preferences as our primary consideration." Backstage, Lily clutched her metal box of bottle caps, listening intently as her father defended their family with the same intensity he presumably brought to business negotiations. "Victor Reeves is a former business associate with a documented history of personal grievances against me." Despite the chaos of the situation, she felt an unexpected surge of pride. "One last question," Alexander was saying. "Then I need to return to my family." A journalist in the front row stood. "Mr. Thompson, how do you respond to allegations that you're using this family situation to distract from financial troubles at Thompson Technologies?" Alexander actually smiled. "Our quarterly reports are public record. Thompson Tech's stock has risen 18% this year. We've launched 3 successful new products, and our philanthropy division has funded educational initiatives that have reached over 50,000 children." He paused. "Including, as it happens, the very school my daughter attends long before I knew of our connection." As Alexander concluded his statement and turned to leave the podium, a commotion erupted at the back of the room. Victor Reeves pushed through the crowd of reporters, his face flushed with anger. "Always the master manipulator, aren't you, Alex?" Victor called out. "Spinning pretty stories while hiding the ugly truth." Security moved to intercept him, but Alexander held up a hand to stop them. "What truth would that be, Victor? That you're exploiting a child to pursue your vendetta against me? That you're so consumed with bitterness you'd attack an innocent family?" "Family?" Victor scoffed. "Since when do you care about family? You betrayed your own sister, your own business partner." "My sister left an emotionally abusive relationship," Alexander cut in coldly, "and you received fair market value for your shares as confirmed by 3 independent evaluations." Victor's face contorted with rage. "You think you've won, don't you? This little press conference, this touching family reunion story, you think it erases everything else?" "I'm not interested in winning, Victor," Alexander replied evenly. "I'm interested in protecting my daughter from people who would use her as a pawn in their personal vendettas." From backstage, Lily watched the confrontation with growing distress. The tension in the room was palpable, the hostility radiating from Victor Reeves like heat from a furnace. Without thinking, she stepped forward, past Jennifer, who tried to stop her, and onto the stage. "Lily! No!" Sarah called, moving after her. But Lily had already reached Alexander's side, her small hand slipping into his larger one with instinctive trust. A collective gasp went through the room, followed by the furious clicking of cameras capturing the unexpected tableau. Victor faltered, clearly unprepared for the girl's presence. This is a publicity stunt," he stammered. But the accusation fell flat as Lily regarded him steadily. "You're the man who came to my dad's house," she said, her voice carrying in the suddenly hushed room. "The angry one." A ripple of uncomfortable laughter passed through the assembled journalists. Victor's expression darkened further. "You don't understand what's happening here, young lady. You're being used. I understand that you're trying to hurt my family because you're mad at my dad," Lily interrupted, with the directness of childhood. "That's not very grown up." More laughter now, along with the unmistakable sound of reporters typing furiously on their phones, capturing the exchange in real time. Victor looked around, suddenly aware that the narrative was slipping from his control. "This isn't over, Alex," he said, his voice low and threatening, before turning to push his way back through the crowd. As Victor retreated, Sarah reached them, placing a protective hand on Lily's shoulder. For a brief moment, the 3 of them stood together, Alexander, Sarah, and Lily, a family unit created through circumstance and chaos, yet somehow coherent in this moment of crisis. A photographer captured the image that would appear on front pages the following day. The tech billionaire, the artist, and the remarkable child who had brought them back together, facing the world as a united front despite the storm swirling around them. Later, as they left Thompson Tower through a private exit to avoid the media frenzy, Lily opened her metal box and carefully placed a new gold bottle cap in the center of her latest map, marking not a destination this time, but a beginning. 6 months after the media storm, the sprawling garden behind Thompson Manor burst with life and color. Spring had transformed the carefully landscaped grounds into a symphony of blooms, their fragrance carried on the gentle Oakland Hills breeze. Under a massive oak tree, Rose Mason sat in a comfortable wheelchair, an oxygen tank discreetly positioned beside her, watching with quiet joy as Lily guided a group of children in arranging bottle caps across a large canvas. "The blue ones create safe pathways," Lily explained to a small boy whose clothes had seen better days. "Red means danger or places you shouldn't go, and gold." She handed him a shining gold cap. "Gold is for your most important places, your treasures." "Like my grandma's house?" the boy asked, carefully placing the gold cap on his section of the collaborative map. "Exactly like that," Lily affirmed with a smile. The Bottle Cap Arts Center had been operating for 3 months now, housed in a renovated warehouse in East Oakland. What had begun as Alexander's attempt to connect with his daughter's passion had evolved into something neither of them had anticipated: a thriving community arts program for children from Oakland's underserved neighborhoods. Twice a week, children from the program were invited to Thompson Manor for special workshops and outdoor activities. Today's session was particularly significant: the creation of a massive collaborative map that would be displayed at the center's upcoming exhibition. From the terrace, Sarah watched the activity below, absently twirling a paintbrush between her fingers. At 36, she had rediscovered her passion for art, now serving as the center's creative director. The position allowed her to combine her artistic talents with her experience working with vulnerable populations, a perfect synthesis of her fragmented professional past. "They're making progress," Alexander observed, joining her at the railing. Their relationship had evolved into something neither could have predicted: not quite romantic, but no longer adversarial. A partnership built around their shared love for Lily and mutual respect that had grown through months of navigating complex circumstances together. "Lily's good with them," Sarah replied. "She has your leadership qualities." Alexander smiled at the comparison. "And your creativity. Have you seen the programming she's developed for the younger kids? Bottle cap sorting by color that secretly teaches them mathematical patterns." Their comfortable exchange was interrupted by Jennifer, who approached with her usual efficient stride, tablet in hand. "Mr. Thompson, the final legal documents have arrived regarding the Reeves settlement." Alexander nodded. "Thank you, Jennifer. I'll review them this evening." After Victor's public humiliation at the press conference, his campaign against the Thompsons had intensified briefly before collapsing under the weight of public opinion and legal scrutiny. The image of Lily confronting him had gone viral, transforming the narrative from scandalous accusation to heartwarming family reunion. When evidence emerged that Victor had paid a tabloid journalist for the initial hit piece, his remaining credibility evaporated. The settlement agreement, which included a substantial donation to the Bottle Cap Arts Center, marked the final chapter in their conflict. "Will he actually honor it?" Sarah asked after Jennifer departed. "He doesn't have much choice," Alexander replied. "The alternative is a very public lawsuit he can't win." He paused, his expression growing more serious. "I've been meaning to discuss something with you. About Rose." Sarah tensed slightly. Despite the excellent care Alexander had arranged, Rose's health continued to deteriorate. The progressive nature of her COPD meant that even with the best treatments, her condition would eventually worsen beyond medical intervention. "Dr. Wilson suggested we consider moving her to the main house," Alexander continued gently. "The guest suite on the ground floor has been renovated with all the necessary medical equipment. It would allow for round-the-clock care in a more comfortable setting than a hospital." Sarah's eyes widened in surprise. "You want my mother to move in here? With you?" "With us," Alexander corrected. "If you're amenable, I thought you and Lily might consider moving in as well. The East Wing has its own entrance, complete privacy. You could both maintain your independence while being close to Rose." The suggestion hung between them, weighted with implications neither was quite ready to articulate. "That's A significant step, Sarah said carefully. Alexander nodded. It is. But the past 6 months have shown me that some things matter more than corporate acquisitions or market dominance. His gaze drifted to Lily, now helping a younger child position a bottle cap just so. Family matters more. It took me too long to learn that lesson. Before Sarah could respond, Lily's voice called up from the garden. Mom, Dad, come see what we made. They descended to the garden together, where the children had completed their massive collaborative map. Unlike Lily's earlier creations, this map represented not physical geography, but emotional landscape. Safe spaces, danger zones, and treasured places, all interconnected with pathways of varying colors. It's wonderful, Sarah said, studying the intricate patterns. What's this large golden area in the center? Alexander asked, pointing to a cluster of gold bottle caps arranged in a spiral pattern. That's us, Lily explained. All of us together. The kids voted to put it in the middle because they said it's the most important place, where different paths can meet. Rose beckoned Lily closer, whispering something in her ear that made the girl smile and nod enthusiastically. Grandma Rose says we should put our handprints around it, Lily announced, to show that people make places special, not the other way around. Sarah retrieved acrylic paints from her supply bag, and soon the children were pressing paint-covered hands onto the canvas around the golden spiral, creating a rainbow of handprints that transformed the abstract map into something personal and vibrant. When the children had finished, Lily brought the paints to her parents. Your turn, she insisted. Alexander hesitated only briefly before rolling up his sleeve, surprising everyone with his willingness to get his hands dirty, something the old Alexander Thompson would never have contemplated. His large handprint, pressed beside Sarah's more delicate one, created an unintentional heart shape where the edges overlapped. Oh, one of the little girls giggled. It's a love heart. Alexander and Sarah exchanged a glance that held more questions than answers, but neither moved to correct the child's observation. Later, after the children had departed and Rose had retired to rest, Lily found her parents sitting together on the terrace, watching the sunset paint the bay in shades of gold and crimson. I decided something, she announced, settling into a chair between them, about Dad's idea for us to move in. Sarah raised an eyebrow. You were eavesdropping? Observing, Lily corrected with a grin that was pure Alexander. And I think we should do it. For Grandma Rose, but also because, she hesitated, suddenly vulnerable, because I like when we're all together. It feels right. The simple statement, delivered with a child's straightforward honesty, settled over them like a gentle blanket. It wouldn't be simple, Sarah cautioned. Your father and I are still figuring out how to co-parent effectively. Living under the same roof would be complicated. Life is complicated, Lily countered, with the wisdom she had acquired through experiences no child should have to navigate. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try the things that matter. Alexander smiled at the sentiment. When did you get so philosophical? Grandma Rose says I was born with an old soul, Lily replied with a shrug. So can we try? Please. Sarah looked out over the gardens, toward the city beyond where she had once fled with nothing but determination and an unborn child. The journey back had been neither simple nor easy, but somehow, against all odds, it had led to this moment of possibility. We can try, she agreed softly. 2 weeks later, Rose was comfortably settled in the ground floor suite, surrounded by familiar possessions that Alexander had insisted on bringing from the apartment. Sarah and Lily occupied the east wing, their living space personalized with Sarah's artwork and Lily's ever-expanding collection of maps. The arrangement was tentative, experimental, a shared acknowledgement that families came in many forms, and sometimes the most meaningful connections required the courage to forge new paths. On a warm Sunday afternoon, Alexander found Lily in the garden, carefully arranging bottle caps on a new canvas. This map was different from her earlier creations, more sophisticated in design with intricate patterns that reflected her growing artistic confidence. What's this one? He asked, sitting beside her on the grass. Our family, Lily explained. See, here's where Mom and I were before, and here's where you were. These red caps show all the hard parts we went through, and these blue ones are the good things that helped us find each other. Alexander studied the complex design, recognizing the visual representation of their journey, separate paths gradually converging despite obstacles and detours. And this? He asked, pointing to an empty space in the center of the canvas. That's for what happens next, Lily replied. I'm saving my special gold caps for that part, but I don't know what it looks like yet. We're still making it together. From the terrace, Sarah watched them, the tech mogul and the once poor girl, heads bent together over a canvas of bottle caps, creating a map of possibilities neither could have imagined 6 months ago. Rose joined her, moving slowly with her portable oxygen. They look alike when they concentrate, she observed. Same furrowed brow. Sarah nodded. It still surprises me sometimes, seeing him in her in him. Life takes unexpected turns, Rose said, her voice weaker but her spirit undimmed. Your path led you away from him years ago and now it's led you back. Not to the same place, but to a new one you're creating together. I'm not sure what we're creating, Sarah admitted. Co-parents, certainly. Friends, maybe. Beyond that, Rose smiled knowingly. The map isn't finished yet, but whatever path you choose, you're not walking it alone anymore. None of you are. Inside her suite that evening, Rose carefully removed a faded photograph from her jewelry box, Sarah and Alexander, young and in love, at the art exhibition where they had first met. She placed it on her nightstand beside a more recent image. Lily between her parents at the Bottle Cap Art Center opening, all three smiling despite the complicated journey that had brought them to that moment. Different paths, different times, but the same essential truth captured in both images, the powerful connection between three people who, despite everything, had found their way back to each other. Across the grounds, in her bedroom in the East Wing, Lily added 3 final gold bottle caps to her family map, one for her mother, one for her father, and one for herself. The path between them, once fragmented and uncertain, now gleamed golden in the lamplight, connecting 3 points in a constellation of possibility. She traced the path with her finger, remembering the little girl who had once shouted a warning to a stranger in a fancy car, never imagining that simple act of courage would lead her exactly where she had always dreamed of going, not to a place, but to people, to family, to home. Outside her window, the Oakland hills sloped down toward the glittering bay, the city lights blending with stars in the clear night sky. Somewhere in that tapestry of light and shadow, other children were creating their own maps, finding their own paths through difficulty toward hope. And in the morning, Lily would be waiting at the Bottle Cap Art Center to show them how gold could emerge from the most unexpected places, even from the discarded, overlooked pieces that others had thrown away.